بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ بوأنا لإبراهيم مكان البيت ألا تشرك بي شيئا وطهر بيتي للطائفين والقائمين والركع السجود.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. Dear brothers and sisters, the sixth obligation in the obligatory Hajj or Hajj al Tamattu is the shaving and taqsir. Shaving has to be done or taqsir has to be done after stoning the Jamaratul Aqaba or the bigger pillar or the last pillar. And shaving should not be delayed, it should not be postponed, and it should not be performed before stoning the Jamara, and it should not be done also before the Eid day also. It should not also be delayed for the next day, because it has to be done on the very day, on the Eid day, and it is necessary, it is mandatory that shaving or taqsir, cutting short the hair, must be done after this pillar, the Jamaratul Aqaba, has been stoned. And of course, it goes without saying that all the acts of Hajj, whether they are part of Umrah or part of the obligatory Hajj, have to be done with the niyyah of qurbah, with the niyyah of complying God's order. And it should be noted that shaving the head is not permissible for ladies. They cannot do that. But taqsir is their obligation. They have to cut or trim their hair with a scissor or something with which they can cut their hair. They cannot shave, and shaving is a duty of men only. Now, the question arises whether it is mandatory for men to shave their head or they can also do taqsir. Of course, there are different opinions among scholars. Most scholars are of the view that if it is the first pilgrimage, the first Hajj performed by a pilgrim, then it is necessary for him to shave his head. But if it is his second or third or maybe fourth pilgrimage, then it's not necessary to shave the head. Taqsir would be sufficient. Cutting short the hair would be sufficient. It's not necessary to shave. So this is a difference of opinion and fatwa, and of course, as I have always mentioned, you can and you should refer to the verdicts of your own mujtahid to see what he actually says. Now, the predominant, the majority of Shia scholars are of the view that if it is your first pilgrimage to the house of Allah, then you should shave your head, otherwise it's not obligatory. And of course, after shaving, most of the acts which were forbidden for a pilgrim become permissible, become halal for the pilgrim. He can walk under the shadow, he can wear a cap, he can wear shoes, he can wear perfume, he can look at a mirror. All these things become allowable, permissible for him. But there are certain things that remain forbidden. They are things like hunting, like intimacy, sexual intercourse, and of course cutting down grass from the haram boundary. All these things remain forbidden. Once a pilgrim has done the taqsir, or he has shaved his head, what is the next obligation that he has to perform? Of course, the next obligation is that he has to go back to Mecca to perform the obligatory tawaf, as well as it is prayers, and then the sa'i. As you know very well, Umrah al Tamattu has its own tawaf, its own prayer of tawaf, and also Umrah al Tamattu has its own specific sa'i. The same is true with the obligatory Hajj, Hajj al Tamattu. You have to perform tawaf, you have to perform the prayers of tawaf, and also the sa'i. And of course, the rules, the ahkam which were applicable to the tawaf of Umrah al Tamattu are also applicable to tawaf of the obligatory Hajj or Hajj al Tamattu. You have to actually start it from the black stone, Hajar al-Aswad, and finish it at the Hajar al-Aswad. There are 7 rounds of circumambulation, 7 rounds of tawaf, and preferably you should perform the tawaf between the wall of the Kaaba and the station of Ibrahim, Maqam Ibrahim. And of course, if it is difficult for you to do that, you can do it from the courtyard of Masjid al-Haram beyond the station of Ibrahim. And it has to be noted that you must be, of course, in the state of ritual purity. You must be clean. You must not be in the state of impurity. You must have wuzu. And then, of course, you must, if you have not circumcised, that's an important condition. You should have circumcised yourself before entering the mosque and before performing tawaf. Otherwise, your tawaf would not be valid. And likewise, when performing tawaf, you should not turn towards the wall of the Kaaba. You should not kiss it. You should not look at it. You should just rotate and circumambulate the house of God. And you have to complete 7 rounds of the tawaf and then leave the place and go stand beyond the station of Ibrahim, where you have to offer 2 rakats of prayer. And of course, the 2 rakats of prayer should be offered in the same way and in the same manner that you offer the dawn prayer. Of course, you are free to offer it. You offer the 2 prayers in loud voice or in audible voice, in low voice or in whispering voice. That is not something mandatory. You can offer it either silently or audibly. And of course, once you have finished the seventh and the eighth obligation, the seventh obligation is the tawaf, the eighth obligation is the tawaf prayer. Now you have to do the sa'i, and sa'i is also obligatory. That is the ninth obligation that you must fulfill, that you must relieve yourself of. And of course, this sa'i is done in the same way as you did the sa'i of Hajj al Tamattu. You have to start it from Safa and finish it at Marwa, and then again start it from Marwa and finish it at Safa. There are seven rounds and seven times you have to cover the distance.
يا دافع الخطوب يا جابر المعطوف يا من هو مندوبي فعفوك مطلوبي يا دافع الخطوب يا جابر المعطوف يا من هو مندوبي فعفوك مطلوبي يا ستار العيوب يا غفار الذنوب يا ستار العيوب يا غفار الذنوب يا علام الغيوب يا كشاف الكروب.
Beginning from Safa and finishing at Marwa. Now each time you go, you cover the distance between Safa and Marwa. It's called one round. The next time you move back from Marwa to Safa, it is the second round. And then the third round again from Safa until Marwa. So all of these actions, all of these acts of the obligatory Hajj must be and should be performed with the niyyah of seeking proximity to God, with the niyyah of seeking closeness to Allah, and the niyyah of complying God's order. That is a must. And of course, as I did mention in the previous session, if a woman starts menstruating, if a woman is in the state of Haiz or Nifas, she cannot enter the Masjid al-Haram, and she cannot do the tawaf, she cannot offer the prayers. So what should she do? Of course, if she is disappointed from becoming purified, from coming out of the menses, if she is disappointed and if she has no time left, then she must appoint a proxy. He must deputize someone. She should choose a representative, an agent, who should perform the tawaf and offer the prayers on her behalf. And that is a must. She cannot leave the tawaf unperformed. She cannot go out of Mecca unless she has appointed an agent who will perform the tawaf on her behalf. And of course, she should do the sa'i, and the sa'i does not require actually ritual purity. Although it is better for everyone to be in the state of ritual purity, to be in the state of tahara. Now, having done the 7th, 8th, and 9th obligatory duties, it is then obligatory for every pilgrim, whether he is young or old, whether female or male, or whether a child or an aged man. It is necessary for everyone who has been in the state of ihram to perform the tawaf al-nisa. Even if a child is very young and the child has worn the ihram garment, he should perform the tawaf al-nisa. Now someone would ask, he cannot do the tawaf and he cannot offer the prayers. Of course, he cannot do that because of young age. Now his wali, his custodian, his guardian, who is in Arabic terminology called qayyim or wali, should perform the tawaf on his behalf, and he should also perform the tawaf al-nisa, the prayer of tawaf on his behalf. Otherwise, tawaf al-nisa has its own implications. It is aftermath, which is very grave. If a person forgets to perform the tawaf al-nisa, then he cannot have intimacy with his wife. He cannot even marry. If he is an unmarried person, he cannot marry. And that is a complication which results from not performing the tawaf al-nisa. Tawaf al-nisa is obligatory. If a person forgets, many people ask questions about tawaf al-nisa and they say that they have forgotten to perform the tawaf al-nisa when they have arrived back home. They have been reminded of tawaf al-nisa, and now what should they do? They ask. The question is this, the answer is this, that they should authorize someone, they should choose an agent or send someone on his behalf. If he himself cannot afford to go back, if he himself does not have the means to go back to Mecca, he should call someone to perform the tawaf al-nisa on his behalf, so that he may become halal for his wife. And of course, if a woman forgets to do the tawaf al-nisa, again, she cannot approach her husband, and her husband becomes haram for her. That is agreed by all Shia scholars, by all fuqaha, and by all ulama. Now, there is an important question. If a woman is married to a Sunni husband, assuming that there is a woman who is married to a Sunni husband, although we believe that it's not appropriate for a Shia woman to marry a Sunni man because of the consequences, because of the aftermath of the marriage, and because of the difficulties which will arise in their life after marriage, as far as the education of children is concerned, and the way they have to train and educate their children, and the way they have to conduct themselves in the family. All these problems will arise after the marriage. Now let's assume that there is a woman who has married a Sunni man. Now the Sunnis do not believe in tawaf al-nisa. They do not perform it, but they perform one tawaf after performing the tawaf for tamattu. What is that tawaf? And that tawaf is called farewell tawaf, tawaf al-wida'. Now if a Sunni man, according to some scholars, if a Sunni man performs the tawaf al-wida' with the intention of an obligatory tawaf, with the intention that it's an obligatory tawaf, then that will suffice for tawaf al-nisa, and the marriage will be, and there will be no question about permissibility of intimacy and the allowability of sexual intercourse. There is no question, there is no problem in their relationship. Now, if he converts to Shia, if the Sunni husband converts to Shia, and he has done the pilgrimage, that's sufficient. He is not supposed to go back to Mecca and perform the pilgrimage or the tawaf al-nisa once again. That is for sure.
ناجيتك يا رحمن ودعوتك يا ديان يا خالق الإنسان الله 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 يا خالق الإنسان الله الله الله.
And of course, Tawaf al-Nisa has to be done. It should not be neglected. And this Tawaf has to be done on the Eid day, before going back to Mina. Because these are all the acts that are performed on the Eid day. And of course, a person who is performing the Hajj rituals is very much, of course, in a hurry. Because he has to wake up early in the morning, he has to actually, from Mash'ar al-Haram, he has to move to Mina, and he has to actually stone the Jamra, he has to do the sacrifice, and after the sacrifice he has to shave his head or do the taqsir, cut short his or her hair, and then he has to rush to Mecca to perform the tawaf and then the prayers and also the sa'i, and again he has to perform the Tawaf al-Nisa. These are very much tiring, because all these things have to be done in the same day, on the day of Eid. Now he has to again go back to Mina, and Mina is not very close to Mecca, and also there are no cars, nothing. So many people have to walk to Mina, and of course, if there are any transportation facility, there is much crowd in Mecca. Some people may not find any vehicle, any means of transportation to move to Mina. Of course, in the present time, the Saudi government has provided the facilities, but again, it's very much likely that there are people who might not find the vehicle to reach Mina. Now he has to go back to Mina, and then in Mina he has to wait. He has to stay in Mina for the 11th and 12th nights. That is a mandatory stay, wuquf, and that's called wuquf. The pilgrim has to stay at Mina on the 11th and 12th night, and preferably on the 13th night of Zul Hajjah. Now, wuquf only for a period of time, and on the night on the 11th and 12th and 13th night, according to some scholars, is obligatory. It is necessary. Of course, as far as the staying on the 13th night of Zul Hajjah is concerned, it's not mandatory according to most scholars, but it is preferable to stay there. Now, when you stay there during the night, on the ensuing day of the 11th and the 12th day, you have to stone the Jamarat. You have to stone the first, the second, and the last pillars, or the first shaitan, which is called Jamaratul Ula, the second Al Jamaratul Usta, and Jamaratul Uqba, or Jamara Al Aqaba. All these three pillars have to be stoned on the 11th and 12th days. Of course, on the night before the 11th and before the 12th day, a person should, of course, stay at Mina as part of the obligatory wuquf, as a part of obligatory duty. And as far as the night preceding the 13th of Zul Hajjah is concerned, wuquf is not obligatory, but it is recommended. And on the night of the 13th of Zul Hajjah, all the rituals come to an end, and people can, of course, come back to Mecca, or maybe depart and leave for the airports. These are the details, and of course some of the rules regarding the obligatory Hajj. Of course, if a person wants to stay in Mecca, it is better for him to do tawaf and to do the tawaf prayer, and doing an extra tawaf and offering extra tawaf prayers will earn the person more sawab and more reward, and there is no objection in doing so. And it's recommended for a person who is in ihram and also performing the obligatory Hajj to pray for his own forgiveness and also for the forgiveness of his relatives and friends. And it has been said that the prayer and supplication under the golden spout, the rain pipe, which is fixed to the Kaaba roof, is answered. Whatever haja you have in your heart, if you pray, if you stand under the golden spout or the drain pipe, inshallah, God willing, your prayers will be answered and your wishes will be fulfilled. And there is no doubt that Hajj is a great opportunity. Hajj is the best time for seeking divine forgiveness. If a person performs the Hajj, he is as though he has not, after he performs the Hajj pilgrimage, he is as though he has not done anything. He is purified from all sins and all pollution. And as a pilgrim who returns home, who goes back home, and who has shed off all the sins and all the impurities and all pollution, he should promise God not to commit any sins, not to fall into any errors, and he has to be careful of his actions, of his conducts, and of his behavior, because other people will look at him as a symbol, as a person who has gone and visited God's house and come back. And he should not actually commit sins, especially in public and out in the open, because other people will see him. And of course, it is committing a sin, especially publicly, openly, will affect other people's mind, other people's beliefs, and not he who commits that sin, he also is a cause and the main cause, the main factor behind the sins committed by other people. If he maintains taqwa, if he observes taqwa, and he continues to remain God-fearing, inshallah, God will give him a worthy place in paradise. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا
يا ربنا
واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا